underpolled union households by 5%. They overpolled conservative households by 10%. And so the number was not as bad as it looked. But I like that poll. I like that poll because it made us all a little scared. It made us all realize that this is not a game, that we are not going to walk comfortably to victory, that it is going to be a long, hard struggle. That's good. That is healthy for people to fully understand what we're in. I didn't feel all that much better when I looked at the amount of money the governor has raised so far in this struggle. $12 million. Now, I make a lot of money, but I still think $12 million is quite a bit. And $12 million, and I thought to myself, wow, I didn't know Wisconsinites were that rich to give $12 million to a governor who is so undeserving. And then I looked at where the money came from. And I realized Wisconsinites aren't that rich. 61% of his money came from out of state. Most of that, the highest proportion, from Texas. And still I thought, well, this is not good though. Polling, a little troubling. Money, money, money. And then I look at how much money the United Wisconsin folks, the people who drove this recall drive had. You know that in the entire period, what Scott Walker is raising $5 million a month. United Wisconsin total has raised $60,000. It's a little disproportionate. And I'm thinking, and the Democratic Party wasn't doing much better. And I thought, well, this isn't good. What could possibly make me feel better? What could possibly make me feel better? And then, on Wednesday morning, I learned that in the Milwaukee County Executive's office, when Scott Walker was the Milwaukee County Executive, his closest aides, who apparently he no longer knows, set up a secret email system. They hollowed out an armoire, or as we say in Wisconsin, a cabinet, and put in a wireless router separately so that they could run an illegal political operation out of the Milwaukee County Executive's office, and they just charged Scott Walker's Deputy Chief of Staff in the Milwaukee County Executive's office, and the woman who was working for his fundraising up until a couple days ago on raising all that Texas money for the recall, she was just charged with 4 felonies for misconduct in public office. Oh, no, that's not that. That's just the start. And then when you read the 57-page complaint, one of 2 57-page complaints, you find out that this operation that they set up involved constant contact with Tim Russell. Some of you may know his name, Tim Russell, Scott Walker's wingman. It's a guy at his side, the guy holding the coffee and the yard signs wherever they went. So many pictures of him you can't believe. Guy who's also had a bit of a recent problem with his felony charges for stealing from a veterans program, and his partner engaged using the governor's campaign account for child enticement. You can't make this stuff up. This woman was in regular contact with Tim Russell. Now, what fascinated me, and this is the good part. This is the good part. Because you think, oh God, how do you take on $12 million? How do you take on all this power? How do you take on Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh and all that? And then I think to myself, you know, I think I know Wisconsin pretty well. I think at the end of the day, even relatively conservative Wisconsinites, when they learn that their governor's staff was involved in a felonious, illegal, and immoral pay-to-play political operation that is now the subject of FBI raids and a John Doe investigation that has already touched on his spokesman in the Capitol, his chief political appointee, his chief fundraiser, and that investigation has only started. That it is not even at the beginning stages. When I look at that, I say to myself, you can raise $12 billion. You can raise $25 million. You can raise $50 or $70 million. But at the end of the day, there's not enough money to take the stench of corruption off Scott Walker. My state. My people came here in 1824 to mine lead in Mineral Point, Wisconsin. That's on my dad's side. My mom's people came out to the Wyoming Valley in 1840. I have a cousin, living or dead, in every community in this state. I have conservative Republicans who listen to Charlie Sykes in my family. But the thing that is stronger than ideology or party with all of them is that they are Wisconsinites. And at the end of the day, they know if they see a car that's run off the road on a winter night, they pull over and they try and push and pull that car out because you don't leave somebody by the side of the road. We are a good and decent people. We may occasionally have overlays of politics put upon us. But at the end of the day, as the truth about Scott Walker's governance comes out, and it will play out on a direct parallel track to this recall struggle. At the end of the day, I don't want any of you to ever fear. This is going to be a hard fight. It's going to be an uphill fight. But ultimately, each day will bring more revelation regarding this governor, regarding those around him. And I believe in my heart, and I believe with a great passion, that we can win this fight. And that when we win this fight, we will do something more than merely defeat a governor in an election. We will redeem a democratic promise that runs deeper in this state than in any state in the nation, but that has the potential to teach this nation great things. I have been amazed. I have been amazed over the last few weeks, few months, as I have heard commentators, and you know, even relatively intellectual folks, who on radio or TV, who will say, well, you know, the recall is an abuse. The recall is an attack on the political process. The recall is a temper tantrum by teachers who should know better. And I tell you, well, you know, you take away my collective bargaining rights, my wages, my benefits, my pension, I might have a temper tantrum too. But I want to emphasize to you, the recall is not an abuse. The recall is not a temper tantrum. The recall is a core part of democracy. Robert M. La Follette campaigned for 25 years to have a recall provision put in the Wisconsin Constitution. And he said he did so because the United States of America did not fight a revolution in 1776 to allow executives to win an individual election and then to serve as a king for 4 years. That was a quote from Jefferson. Jefferson said, we did not fight the revolution so that our elections would produce monarchs. We fought the revolution so that our elections would produce leaders who feared the people, not leaders who the people feared. And La Follette said correctly that when money entered into our politics, and it had, in the late 19th century, you saw the rise of the robber barons, you saw the industrialization of the republic, the great consolidation of the wealth. He said that no longer were the traditional small d democratic structures sufficient to assure that the people would rule, and that you had to insert the recall power as well as initiatives and referendums so that in the middle of a term, an official who had practiced policies that were damaging to the state could be removed, and these are La Follette's words, before the evil was completed. Before the evil was completed. You did not wait to the end of a term, because if you did, an anti-democratic and immoral and corrupt official could so restructure the rules so that never again would an election matter. Why, they could change your voter ID laws so that it was harder to vote. They could redistrict so that all the districts were uncompetitive. They could attack the Government Accountability Board so that it no longer enforced rules. They could go after student voting to make it hard for students to vote. Do not doubt that La Follette was right. That without the recall, a dishonorable politician had the ability to completely restructure things so that democracy itself would be under threat. And so he campaigned for decades for the recall. It was a hard fight. The wealthiest corporations, the wealthiest people fought against it because they only wanted to have to buy politicians every 4 years. They didn't want the expense of having to do so midterm. Wisconsin finally approved the recall. And the interesting thing is, if you go back and look at the debate about the recall, it's a fascinating thing. If you look at the debate about the recall, it was specifically said, this is not about law breaking in office. This is not about ethical violations in office. We have prosecutors. We have ethics laws for that. That is structured out. That is there. This is not to replace prosecutors and courts. The recall is to give the political power to the people so that in the middle of a gubernatorial term, or frankly the term of any elected official in Wisconsin, that official can be removed when the majority of the people determine that that official is doing harm to the state of Wisconsin. And stop Walker is doing harm to the state of Wisconsin. And they put a great barrier in front of it. They didn't make it easy to recall a governor. We have the highest levels of petitioning that you have to do of any state in the country, 25%. In California, when they recalled Gray Davis and replaced him with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We'll do better. We don't have Hollywood to mess things up. But when they recalled Gray Davis, they only had to get 12.5% of the electorate. We had to get 25%, double the standard. In Ohio, when they petitioned for their veto override referendum on their collective bargaining law, they only needed about 12% of the electorate. We had to get more than double that. We had this incredibly high standard in Wisconsin. And I was told, I was out east in early November, I was told by some of the smartest people in politics, can't do it. Not going to happen. You guys you're not going to pull up. I know you have big demonstrations at the Capitol and all that. It's not going to happen. And I said, well, let's give it a couple months, see what goes. And they said, well, you see, this is what's going to be the problem. On top of everything else, there's going to be snow and cold. It's going to be very fun. Then Christmas and New Year's and all these things will get in the way, and it just isn't going to happen. And I said to myself, Wisconsinites have snowmobiles.
Snowmobiles?
And cross-country skis. And snowshoes. And while we love Christmas and New Year's, we don't like our families that much. Many a marriage was saved by the excuse of, I gotta go collect petitions here. But I knew this movement was gonna work on the very first day when my friend, the great labor historian Paul Buell, he taught at Brown University, now retired back here. Paul Buell's still trying to keep in good shape, goes out and jogs in the morning. And he was jogging on one of the jogging trails here in Madison, running along, and he said it was foggy, and I don't know if you remember that first day, it was kind of foggy and cold, a little bit wet. And he's jogging down the trail, and he said, I saw a vision in front of me. Coming out of the fog was this beautiful young woman, all dressed in like this athletic jogging wear, and she's jogging along, and she has a recall sticker appropriately placed. And she ran up to me, and she started jogging around me, and she said, I don't mean for you to stop. I'll run with you. But I've got the petition. Can you sign here on the jogging trail?